All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us again for another follow-up Boss webinar, Bosses in Action. Today, we've got David Tam. He's the CMO of Cast Services. Check them out online. They are experts at SEO, website conversion, and really anything that has to do with websites and going deeper into AI now, which is going to be amazing. But that's all top secret. So, Dave, let's talk about what you can talk about, and that's website lead conversion. We dove deep into this earlier, maybe a couple months back, you and I, and we're always talking here and there, and I'm always impressed by our conversations. That's why I brought you on, because a lot of what we originally would think would be great on our websites isn't, right?
Right.
And that was a surprise for me. I'm like, really? That would be good?
Yeah.
So if you want to do like a short intro as to who you are, and then we'll dive into it.
Yeah, I love it. And thank you, by the way, for having me. I always love interacting with you because, well, you've got a very knowledge-thirsty audience. And I know Follow Up Boss does as well. And they're willing to hear an outsider's perspective, i.e. me, which is really great because it moves the needle and pushes the industry forward, right? Which is really what we're all about at Cast Services. So yes, we're a full service digital agency, but we're pivoting very quickly into the AI space, and beyond that, I can't talk much about it. But what led up to that is we were the founders, my brother and I, of FirePoint Solutions. So one of the top, real estate CRMs. Before that, Chris ran, my brother, one of the largest real estate teams in Colorado, like #1, and top 10 in the country. So we have a ton of experience when it comes to actual real estate transactions, the CRMs, the businesses, and then all the marketing that goes into making those successful, right? And what we also found, Tristan, is, some of the stuff that's being sold out in the markets, not in a nefarious perspective, but isn't actually meeting the consumer where they are. And I think the lack there is actual consumer behavior research, right? So one of the things that we do is we've got data science PhDs, and we publish doctoral level papers on best practices in the real estate space, all the way from how should you be following up with a lead, right? Like, should you be picking up the phone and calling a lead versus texting? Well, it depends on the lead source. It depends on the market, right? What elements should your website have on it? Because a lot of the canned websites out there, they don't have what a consumer is looking for, right? So the purpose today is, again, just share all of that freely to try and better serve the consumer and for everybody that's watching here. So thanks for having me on again.
Dude, thanks for being on, bro. All right, let's dive into it. What have you seen with the research that you've done on my website and other websites? That's something that real estate agents mostly miss or just don't understand when it comes to the conversion.
Totally. So let's back all the way up to the beginning of time in the real estate space, right? So when we wind all the way back, what we find is that most of the real estate websites that were built through CRMs, not CRMs, independents, they were all essentially emulating one model, and it was typically the Zillow model, or directly emulating what the MLS was providing, thinking that the consumer, as long as I gave them a way to browse for homes, that I would capture the totality of the real estate transactions, or possibly part of, right? And that actually assumption is what's caused a lot of problems that have trickled down the real estate space over the last 10 years. And so what I'm going to talk about is one of those papers that we did. We had a client of ours that came to us, 3-4 years ago, and was like, hey, I love my website. It loads fast because you told us to make it to load fast, right? To meet the algorithm at that time. And we'll talk about how that's changed over the last 36 months. But it's only getting me like 3 to 4 organic leads, right? Of people that are registering on their own to come to me. But when they do come to me, they're like the best leads ever, right? Like, Tristan, if somebody found your website on their own search behavior, like sell home fast or top rated real estate agent, I mean, you're the top 1%, right? Like from real estate professionals. And we should have that on your website. And when they find you, one would assume if they gave up their personal information, name, email, and phone number, it would be a really good lead, right?
Dude,
so
yes.
Right. So how do you get more of those? So what we did is we performed a doctoral study, and it took months for us to look at. We ended up looking at 30 different websites in 30 different markets across 15,000 data points. And Tristan, what we found was pretty crazy, was people that are looking to browse for homes, search an MLS, they don't really care about you. And that's a tough pill to swallow. And the reason for that is over the last decade, the consumer, when they're looking to browse for homes, they have been conditioned to go to Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, HomeLight, Realtor, all the big box players that are dumping billions of dollars into the industry that dominate page 1 and 2 for buyer focused terms.
True.
So why are we giving as the consumer, as a real estate agent to the consumer, only browse for homes in and trying to go head to head with an 800-pound gorilla? And then, so we actually looked at the individual search behavior, what people were typing into Google to get to the real estate agent's website. And what we found, when somebody's looking to sell their home, get it sold faster for more money, they're looking for you. They can't find you though, because all you're giving them is browse homes in with a bunch of buyer content. There isn't a single mention of seller focus above the fold. There's no conversion elements, lead forms, clickable phone numbers, strong value propositions. Most of the websites that we analyze, and we analyze hundreds of websites through a deep audit process, don't even meet the wicket to actually index for page 1, according to Google Developer Tools, because they were built on desktop and they're extremely slow. So this was mind-blowing for us. So that individual I was talking about, we burned his website to the ground. We rebuilt it. We did. We burned it to the ground and we rebuilt it. We made it fast. We made it 100% seller focused. You couldn't even browse for homes on his website. You couldn't. In order to do that, we did some sort of redirect. And what happened was shocking to everybody. His conversion rate from organic traffic to lead increased 400% in 72 hours.
Dude.
Just by changing the site itself. I mean, we're not talking rocket science here. These are websites, not thermodynamics. And so that activity of trying to meet the consumer where they are for what they're searching for is very easy to do and a best practice these days. And that's why we're seeing seller-focused websites are the next big boom. So what I'm going to do, if you're open to it, I'm going to shut up first and ask questions. Do you have any questions? And then I'm going to share some stuff.
Well, I would have questions that I had if I hadn't seen this. Right?
Copy.
And now that I know what it is, I think let's just jump into the website so you can start with the myths, because the very first one that you helped me change was, hey, you probably need a phone number on your website, right? Yeah. And that to me was like, really? What do you mean? So, I mean, it was that simple for me, right? And everybody that's looking in, this is what David and his team just redesigned for us, right? And then they redesigned this site. It looks great. And then it dumps all of the leads that we're getting directly into our Follow Up Boss account. So this is why we love this one. So dude, go through this and tell us what you changed and what we should be looking to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and again, we're trying to educate the public so that you can make more money. And the reason for that is, guys, there's a culling, right? There's billions of dollars pouring into the industry. There's big box players who are trying to rent you leads so that you don't control the relationship anymore. And for Mr. and Mrs. Agent out there, that's going to be a necessity so that you can capture the next 5 to 7 transactions for the life of that client. And part of that is making your website more compelling and more performance driven from a conversion standpoint, right? Yep. It's cool to have high resolution videos, spinning in a loop behind a browse for homes in or find the home of your dreams. That's what every other real estate agent in the planet is doing right now. And those sites do not convert very well because they're extremely slow. And we can prove it, right? So this is your site. And one of the big pushes here was, okay, yes, let's modernize the branding and let's let our website be our storefront. Your digital presence in your website is a direct reflection of you as a business professional. Truly, if it's not up to date, if it's not fast, if it doesn't provide them a path of least resistance to do business with you, they're not doing business with you. So that's where we take a lens of, yes, make it aesthetically pleasing, but have performance in mind when we build a site. And again, this is all based off of thousands of doctoral research data points.
Yeah.
We don't just build stuff to build stuff. And so as you look at the site, what do we see? We actually have a clickable phone number above the fold, but it's not just an icon of a phone. It lists the number out. Why? Well, we found that people oftentimes when they're out browsing around, looking at homes, when they're looking to move, and they've got 3 or 4 different websites pulled up, they want to list that number off to their wife that's sitting in the passenger seat. You know what I mean? Or scribble it down because they don't have time to talk right now because they're sitting at a red light, right? You know, and so listing the phone number out is great. Also having the direct email with your actual email address, fantastic. You know,
Okay.
Path of least resistance. Then we go into the, you know, we're in the hero section, right? What I mean, above the fold. And that's an old newspaper term of what you see on before you have to unfold the newspaper, but on websites, it's before you have to scroll. And what we have here is what grabs your eyes. Let the world's top 100%, 1% team sell your home. There's no mention of browse homes in, right? Search MLS in. Why? That's what all of the big bot players offer and are sticking their finger in the dominoes to grab that from you so that they can sell it back to you, right? In a website, this allows you to control the relationship. And what that means is having a very strong value proposition. Now, again, if you're top 1%, that means there's 99% that aren't. So I'm going to list off a few things, Tristan, that somebody watching this could actually get on their website and A/B test as a unique value proposition.
All right.
All right. And some of those are, how many transactions have you closed? What is your average clear to close? Do you get homes sold faster or for more money, right? Extra GCI. We sell homes for 10% above market. Any awards you've won, right? We had one client who was like, we're kind of new to the space. We haven't won a lot of awards. And they came back and said, we're actually going to say that we're the top rated team by our moms. And it's hilarious and it converts extremely well because it's personable, right?
Dude, I love that one. That one's probably the best one.
Yeah, so get creative with it. Or how
my dog, my sister, right?
Yes. You're human, but not just search for homes in, because that's what every other real estate professional in the world can do, is let you browse the MLS, right? That's not special. That's not unique. So do some soul searching. After we get a clickable phone number above the fold, got our email contact, think about what your UVP, your unique value proposition could be. And the next one is we'll give them a place to put their info in. If you're going to give them a really strong value proposition, research shows if somebody's going to register on a website to buy or sell a home, they're going to register on 4 to 6 others in a 30-day period.
Okay.
Right? Like you're special, but you're not. And that's a hard pill to swallow also, because there's a lot of different options when somebody wants to select a real estate professional to work with to sell their home. And so
true.
Do is give them that path of least resistance. Don't make them hunt. I implore you, pull your website up right now, whoever's watching this, and say, if somebody just wants to give me their information in the next 30 seconds and be done so they can get on with their lives, how would they do that? If you're making them scroll to the very footer of a website with 6 fields or 5 fields, or even worse, making them click on a contact page and then scroll down and go fill out like 10 fields, which I see all of the time.
Yeah.
That is not the path of least resistance. That's the path of most resistance. And so there's some great research by Neil Patel of the number of fields that you have in a lead form. After they go past 4, the conversion rate goes down exponentially. And as that approaches 9, it goes to 0. So if you're asking somebody for name, email, phone number, when you're looking to sell, message, well, dog's blood type, whatever, like forget about it. Simple. Name, email, phone number. First name, last name, email, phone number. Simple as that. And then
one thing I want to add to this, only because it's important here for this specific webinar, is that when you start adding the follow-up boss pixel, and you can identify at what point they came in and what they're looking for, that becomes even more powerful, right? So
I completely agree. And by the way, I freaking love Follow Up Boss. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. Like what they do on the back end to maximize conversion potential from high quality organic leads that badass, gorgeous website like this can generate it's best in class.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're innovating. All right. They're building new technology and tools, not based off what they think's cool, based off what's going to make you money. So like huge tip of the hat. Keep doing that.
Dude,
when we're looking at though a custom website, one of the most critical things that gets overlooked is I like the way my website looks, even if it's 100% buyer focused, doesn't have a unique value proposition, doesn't have a clickable phone number, doesn't have a lead form, which most real estate websites don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
How fast does it load? So Core Web Vitals, the last major algorithm update on user experience from Google, actually says your LCP, your largest contentful paint, has to be 2.5 seconds or faster. Like that's it was the first time they ever did a press release to say exactly what the benchmark was. Usually it was like the IRS, where they're like, we know how much you need to pay in taxes, but we're going to make you guess. And if you're wrong, we're going to penalize you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but Google did a great job. And they said, guys, we're really concerned about the user experience of sites. They need to be fast. So we need to build sites with performance in mind. So this is actually the GTmetrix report for your site. I ran this morning. And what we find is it's an A. It's performance is 96%. Our LCP is way lower, less than a third of what it needs to be, which is a good thing, right? And the server management is quite good. But we have a lot of interactive components here. So one of the things, Tristan, that I would implore users to do is go check out. You can go to gtmetrix.com. There's also SEMrush, Google Developer Tools, that you can plug your URL in to understand, do I have a website that's 100% buyer focused? It doesn't have any of the conversion elements, and it's extremely slow, i.e. providing a poor user experience. And then you're left scratching your head. I wonder why I'm not getting organic leads. Well, and you're not ranking for anything organically, so you're not even findable for a lot of those terms. It gives you nothing seller focused on your page. Does all that make sense?
Dude, 100%, man. I think that if you could, you showed me something a few weeks ago where when you were doing research with your team,
yeah,
you looked at previous websites, and then you saw how people gravitated to certain spots of the website. And I forgot what website it was that you used to do that with. But if you could showcase that, I think people will start understanding that there's a lot of research that you put into this. This is why the site looks like this.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also very important, for the sites that we build, we hook up heat map tracking on those sites.
That's what I'm talking about. Thanks.
Yeah, so I'm actually not going to pull that up here because I've got a ton of different accounts in there. But what I will show is the white paper research that led to the design of the site, which made it vital for us to understand where people are engaging with or not. If you don't know what heat map tracking is, you install a snippet of code into a website, and you can see visually on a heat map of where people are interacting and where they're not, right? What do they just skip past, and what do they engage and stay on and click on? And what we find is that, man, most real estate websites that are just kind of canned solutions out there, which is, by the way, it's not a bad thing, right? This is just, we're trying to identify an issue and fix that issue. It was an artifact of the industry, okay? So I'm not trying to sling mud on anybody. I'm just like, guys, let's get with the picture. So the heat map tracking, some tools that you can use, Crazy Egg is a great one, just crazyegg.com, or Hotjar is another great one that we use. I believe they have 30-day free trials, so you could just sign up or whatever and go do it. And then get some data on your website, and it will show where people are using things and where they're not. And it'll actually show you the click confetti of where people are clicking on stuff from different traffic sources, right? Google, Bing, all that kind of stuff, which is phenomenal. So go check that out. If you don't have that on your website, get it. And then I'm going to pivot over here and stop sharing this screen and share the white paper, if that works for you.
Oh, for sure, dude. I just want to really quick share how a heat mapping works really quick, just so people can see it. It looks something like this.
Yep.
Right. And so you see how you can identify where people are clicking more. Yep. This is the type of research you did, and you'll show on the white paper what it all means. But what was the website one more time, David?
Yeah, so crazyegg.com, and then Hotjar, all one word, all lowercase. I guess case doesn't really matter. And you'll find them there. They're super cool tools, right? And again, these are companies that are innovating, trying to provide us solutions to make our businesses better. And I just feel like in the real estate space, I believe it's like the last unrefined industry in the country. That's the last one left, right? And so there's a lot of data and research and science and proof that we can bring to the table to drag the real estate industry out of the dark ages, kicking and screaming. Okay?
All right, let's do it.
I'll get a tattoo of that one day, don't worry. All right, so we're talking now. This is, guys, we normally don't share this externally, but we're going to today. This is the actual data when we analyzed all of those different websites. And this was bred out of necessity. We're like, what's going on here? Because the buyer-focused websites, they're just not converting the way industry standards and Google tells us they should be, right? And I had the privilege of going out to data center headquarters at Google and working with some teams there on some stuff. And being in those rooms was one of the big impetus for wanting to create, these white papers. And what you see here is 100% buyer websites, average conversion rate from organic traffic to lead, 1/3% ish. Okay. And when we move to a blend, buyer and seller, and guys, I'm not saying just burn your website to the ground and go to 100% seller. Like, you need buyer lead flow to feed your agents a lot of times. So it's appropriate to have some buyer content. That's okay. Conversion rate from organic to lead tripled. And then when we go to 100% seller, we just got rid of the buyer functionality above the fold, and usually on most of the website, the conversion rate almost tripled again. So this is like a 400 plus 460% increase from 100% buyer to 100% seller. Okay. And if you want, what we could do, like on the next webinar, if we're going to do one, I could actually export a whole bunch of heat map tracking data and actually show you, hey, this is what it looks like. So what it shows is they're not engaging here and you're getting a ton of leads here. We had one website, and they're a very large operation. They had over 1,000 agents. Okay. 1,000 agents. They didn't have a phone number on their website that was clickable. You had to go to the very footer.
I didn't.
Right. So we hooked up heat map tracking, and then we added the phone number. 27 people picked up the phone and called or clicked that number that we could attribute to leads that were directly in their CRM, because there was automatic call rail tie through, right? And if you had Follow Up Boss, you're going to be converting those leads at a pretty high level. And so that's where the proof is in the pudding itself, but also in the zeros in your bank account. So one of the takeaways is, if you have a big goose egg of amount of leads that your website is generating organically, something's wrong. You're not getting the consumer what they need, or you're not ranking for the terms they care about. Or when they do come to your website, you're not giving them the path of least resistance or a good user experience to turn into a lead. It's not their fault, it's yours. So fix it.
Yeah. It's easy as that. But I think what opened my eyes when I was talking to you first was the fact that you had so much research behind it. Because I wouldn't have thought just to add my number on there would make a big difference, right? So this will be recorded, guys. It'll go into our YouTube channel for Follow Up Boss, so you can rewatch it there, and we'll also send it out by email to everybody here. So it's a large group, man. But I think Dave, we did a Follow Up Boss event. We had, I don't know, 3,500 people register.
Awesome.
And it was great. So we have a large amount of great followers.
Oh, good. Well, and I'm a believer in what they're doing, and so if anybody has questions on this, you can hit up our website, cast.services, if you'd like, just to learn a little bit more about us, some of the projects we're involved in, technology. And then if anybody in the Follow Up Boss community has other questions that I can help answer on behalf of Tristan or Fub, just let me know. We're here to help. Okay.
Agreed, dude. Agreed. All right. Anything else you want to add? We've got about 4 or 5 minutes left. Something you want to share that you may have missed or that you think is important?
Oh my goodness. That's a great question. A lot of people really struggle with what's the first step, right? And so perform an internal audit. So go to your website, go to a couple of your competitors' websites, and actually take a hard look. Try and clear your head and just spend 30 minutes and write down all of the things that you could change on your website to make you different, to make you special, right? And then if you don't really know what those are, go back and watch this, right? It's speed test, phone number, value proposition, call to action, lead form. And then if you've got all these high res videos that are on loop, that's probably tanking your website speed performance, which is impacting your SEO score, right? Because you've got a slow website. So even if you did have a ton of content, you're probably not maximizing the amount of organic traffic you have. So start there. And then if you have other questions, go to Follow Up Boss and Tristan, and I'll come back and answer this for you. Okay.
I love that, dude. All right. So if people want to hire you, or at least just do somewhat of a deep dive into their site, just to help them, where do they go?
Yeah, if you want to go to the website, cast.services, and then any of the contact forms, headers, footers, any of the testimonial pages, just throw in your contact information. Our team will be right back to you. We can set up something.
Perfect, dude. Perfect. And look, they work really well with Follow Up Boss. So
they do. Yeah.
It's actually the best CRM they work with, because that was his first. When I asked him, I'm like, so here's what I've got, and here's what I've got on the website side. He's like, okay, good. I'm glad you have Follow Up Boss, because that's the best one to work with. I'm like, dude, okay, good. You already won me there. So thanks, dude. Thanks for making it easy for me, and thanks for jumping in on this. I appreciate
Yeah,
you.
absolutely, man. Always a pleasure. Thanks, Tristan.
Thanks, everybody.